Hi everybody again. This is going to be another video on immigration because in the first video I didn't really explain some major issues we've got. So we talked about mass immigration in the last video, mainly net migration. We didn't talk about illegal migration, and that's really what stoked the fire more so and become more inflaming to the public. And obviously, as you know, last year there was the incident from where was he from? Forgotten now. A person who was put into the hotel in Epping and was only in the country about 6-7 days and went on to sexually abuse two individuals within Epping, which led to massive protests outside the hotel, which resulted in the people protesting being called far right. It's also the creation of the Pink Ladies movement because, you know, women sticking up for the rights of women and children not to be sexually assaulted on the streets. I think the person was from Ethiopia and they only got a suspended sentence, arguably, of 6 months, and then were let out accidentally from the prison to roam the streets for 48 hours, was then found, captured, and paid quite a sizable sum to go back to his home country. So basically what this says to us is that you can come here, get put up in a hotel, 3 meals a day. In a lot of cases we've heard about balloon lessons and driving lessons and English lessons and all these bonuses, get ferried to and from in taxis to GPs and dentist appointments, which are now being assigned GPs and dentists to said locations. And obviously there's a lot of us, the natives and historical migrants, who can't get any of these appointments. At the same time, as we highlighted in the last video, we're made to pay for this. Which is a big problem of why we can't breed as a native population. We're fiscally strangled to pay for people constantly turning up on boats, turning up through apparent asylum claims and having 8 or 9 kids. We pay for that, well, they won't pay for us, let alone for factors our youth, and especially ladies, have been sort of gaslit in believing that family is bad, Christianity is the devil, and being a strong, independent woman, not needing a man, is the best thing ever. And also, you could argue the trans ideology being fed predominantly to white British natives, telling them they're in the wrong body, which reduces population growth. This is a factual thing. You should look into this. And it's only pushed really on the native populations. Again, the statistics and figures are there to prove otherwise. We then added abortion up to 12 months, and I'll be brutally honest with you, who's aborting the babies? It's going to be the white natives the majority of the time. And with the Labour government trying to push through a demonic euthanasia bill, now don't get me wrong, euthanasia can work, but this bill is somewhat very dangerous. And again, I tell you now that it would be the white British natives enacting that bill. And if you go and look at the statistics coming out of Canada, who are now killing more of their own citizens with natural deaths, and it turns out to be 92% white Canadians that are being euthanized. So every day is a boat crossing of about 900, 700, 500, 600, 400, blah, 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 blah. It keeps happening every day. Even in this last week or so, we've had the highest migration ever, right? So migrant small boats reaches Britain across the Channel 7 days in a row for the first time this year, pushing total arrivals to under Labour past 68,000. We've only just started the year. 68,000 was last year. That is a small village. And yet they're all being housed. They're all being put up at our expense, the expense of the natives and historical migrants who have worked their arse off and integrated. You know, look at this. There were 309 arrivals who crossed the northern of France abroad 4 dinghies on Monday, pushing the total number to arrivals since Labour came into past 48,000. This means that 1,200 migrants have reached Britain's soil in 7 days. Now, these are 99% men. They really, really are. And legacy media will jump on it as soon as there's a woman or a child there. And of course, there's going to be 1 or 2. But we know statistically, 99% of these are fighting age men. And what really pisses us off in the UK, what really gets our back up, is they are allowed to roam freely from the HMOs, from the hotels, from the barracks, and there's been whistleblowers coming out saying if we knew the full extent of the crime that these people were causing, there would be riots in the street. I can't remember where this came from, but they've come out and said that every 3 seconds in the UK, a migrant creates a crime. Now, that's not necessarily a legal migrant, just a migrant. Okay, so it could be legal, illegal, refugee, asylum seeker, whatever you want to name it. But yeah, we're seeing these cases every single day of assault, attacks, sexual assault upon the British public. We also have this issue where the people come across the boats because of the ECHR. We cannot check their age via the dentistry, by the teeth, right? It is against the Human Rights Act, right? So then we get weird things like this. Now, I think this is AI, personally, but I do know this is happening specifically. This gentleman is claiming to be a 15-year-old child and is crying, but people are mocking him over his hairline. Now, I think this is satirical. I think this is AI, and it's also my old secondary school. But I know this is happening because we cannot age verify. When we have 2 Afghanis come over that sexually abused that girl in the park, this is absolutely disgusting. They were claiming to only be 16 and 15. When you look at them, you go, mate, they're mid-20s, late 20s. So but you don't know. You don't know. And this is the argument with the illegal migrants. You don't know anything about their past. And thinking this blank slate that everybody's the same, you are dumb. And many years ago, I'm sitting here going, you don't know who's coming on these boats. You don't know where they're from. You know nothing about them. And as far as I'm concerned, they could be Iranian terrorists. They could be Russian spies, Chinese spies, many sleeper cells. And you can't deny it because you can't prove it. And lo and behold, last year, I got a loose figure of 18 Iranian terror plots were foiled on our soil. That's a major issue. And it winds me up because I'm like, during the Second World War, we stopped Nazis coming over the channel. Right? We blew them up. We stopped them. And now we're letting this invasion come into our land. And what annoys me, as I said in the previous video, is that we are browbeaten to accept this or be told we're far-right fascists and Nazis and we're horrible people. Yet the crime caused by these people targets predominantly white natives. The stats are there now. Yeah, the crime is targeting us almost like we're being wiped out, like on purposely being attacked, right? Look at the so-called 23-year-old in Edinburgh the other day, stabbed 2 people in the streets and tried to make it into a school. And what did the Edinburgh newspaper say? It's just another Scotsman. No, he's not. He's from Chad. He was a migrant being put up at the taxpayers' expenses. There's no respect for this country. And again, these people coming on the boat have no respect for us because they've been told they can get everything from us. They can break the law and we will go to jail or and be arrested for simply speaking up and disagreeing with it. And we are made to pay for it out of our asses, putting taxes on us, which stops us from being able to breed ourselves. So you stipend the native population while importing millions of low-skilled workers who have completely different ideals to our cultural norms and are getting away with murder. The amount of sexual abuses I have seen every single day or stabbings is going out of control. And what I feel like is the sexual abuse crimes specifically by migrants are being decriminalized. When I hear a story about a Nigerian who was only in the country for a year, going onto the beach somewhere, putting his hands down pants of a native British girl, his friend pulls him off, it goes to court, which took 3 years by the way, because he chose a longer list so he can get his right to remain. And he simply got a slap on the wrist and community service because he had a boohoo backstory. He didn't know any different. And in his country, that's perfectly normal. I don't give a damn. Why are you decriminalizing and defending these people and allowing these people to come in on a meal ticket to sacrifice the natives of these lands, the people who built this freaking country, and then tell us we're bad, lock us up for more time? And again, going back to Epping, as far as I'm concerned, the gentleman involved, well, it's not a gentleman, is he? The person involved who sexually abused these 2 girls got a less sentence, suspended sentence over 3 chaps who were protesting outside the hotel, got 3-year sentences. Natives. Work that out. Okay? And every single day we can see there's a problem. Boy 16 chased by masked men, stabbed in Aldi in broad daylight horror. That's what the Express. That was today. Yeah. Okay. What else have we got? I mean, this is all recent. You know, I think I have another one which just recently happened. Oh my God, he says. Here we go. This is another type of migrant. And I'm not sure if this is migrant. Obviously, it's conjecture. But this is happening more also. Teacher barricades classroom doors, filing cabinets. Girl left covered in blood in school stabbing. I've seen 3 school stabbings in the last 4 weeks. There was a university one as well. And at no point do I know who the perpetrator is. Okay? And to be speculative, shall we say, when you look at the locations of each of these stabbings, they have had, in the last 5 years, mass immigration. They have hotels. They also want the university campus in question, I can't really remember the name of it, but it has Gazan students in it. Right? And apparently there's a student that attacked a lecturer, so was the lecturer Jewish? Do you want a point? This is why I go back to my first video. We are importing issues that shouldn't be our issues. We shouldn't be having protests on the streets for the IRGC. For Khamenei, who killed up to 30 to 50,000 of his own freaking people, and we shouldn't have people on the streets supporting Hamas and pro-Palestine. It's not part of my country. I'm sorry, but it is now because we've massively imported people from around the world, and every single day I'm seeing violence on the streets. And what I'm saying here, this might be a native, yes, but I feel like because we're importing large waves of immigration from countries which are violent, they meet every answer with violence and sexually abuse women and children because they don't care, that is potentially teaching our native youth that that's okay. When they see millions of stories every day, and there are every single day, every single hour, there is a stabbing or a sexual abuse in my country, and that is not normal, guys. Stop making it feel like it's normal. That's the problem. Maybe just shrug and go, no, it's another day. No, it's not. Right? This is not normal to our land. Okay, always been historical stabbings and rapes, yes, of course, but not at this level. Let's just check ourselves here, right? And this is my problem. We're teaching the youth to emulate this of our own natives. We have jihadis, ginger jihadis, joining, you know, the extremes of Islam, and then suddenly going on to, you know, create sexual abuse crimes and whatever because they're taught through this extreme ideology that this is acceptable. And this is the problem. We're being made to pay for it. We're being told we can't speak about it. And then we have the government turning around to the British public and saying crap like, let's say crap like this. Yeah, let's have this from Carl Benjamin. So the government releases this policy today. The government releases this policy today paper. It says that their extreme right in etiquette Englishness with being white and Christian, or you believe national identity is an ethnic construct. There is non-zero chance the entire leadership of the team will restore Britain. Okay, this is restore Britain. But the point being is, they're trying to say, because I'm proud to be British, white, Caucasian and Christian, I'm far right in my own freaking country. This is my country. This is our land. This is our flag. That is our faith. These are our cultural norms. And yet you say crap like this, saying that basically admitting that you're white and Christian and native to the land, you're far right. That is demonic and demonstrous, and that is ethnocide, right? As we know this week alone, we now have, we have Churchill, who was only graffitied the other week by a Dutch national, who I hope was deported, but I imagine they weren't. It's got a slap on the wrist for defacing our heritage and our statues. But we're now removing him from our money and replacing him with animals. Why? Because apparently it's offensive to our new arrivals. I'm sick of this crap. St. George's Parade in London apparently has been cancelled because it offends a certain group of people. That should be the case. If you're offended, leave. Yeah? If you're not happy with what our life is like and how we want to survive and exist in our own country, then get out. Right? And there's nothing wrong with saying that. You know, if I go to Japan and, I don't know, piss on the torii gates, I expected to be slapped and thrown out the country, so rightfully so, for disrespecting the Japanese culture and way of life as a guest. Because no matter what, let's be clear, if I move to Japan after 10, 20 years, I may become a citizen, but I am still a blooming guest, right? I'm a guest. Okay? And then the fact is now we're finding that 1/5 of our aid budget, according to GB News, is being spent on housing asylum seekers. That is insane and a serious risk to everything. I you know, it's, and this is the other problem as well, because we're constantly going over this weird colonial guilt rubbish, and we gave over the Chagos Islands, even though we tout that the Chagosians should have a right to the native land, so should we. This is now allowed for the Africans to turn around, the African nations, and ask for reparations on slavery. And I'm so sick of this as well. It's just an attack on us when there are currently 10 million, estimated 10 million slaves in Africa right now. In the Arab nations, there are slaves. The fact is we were late to the game. The Moroccans turned up first, then us and the French. But we are 3,000 years late because of the Arab slave trade, the Barbary slave trade as well. You know, who went across the desert, traded Africans, bought the Africans off the African nations, which you also seem to forget, people, took them across the desert, and often died, and then castrated them when they got to the other end, which is barbaric, and hence why you don't see many black people in the Middle East. But point being is, it stands today as we were the lesser evil in the slave trade. And people also forget that Anglo-Saxons, white people, the Slavics in the Slavic states, slave states who are white, were also slaves. I'm so tired of this, and it's because we've accepted society now to browbeat every European native. I mean, let's just look at Belgium, right? Belgium is the best example of it going to pot, okay? Belgium is the ISIS recruitment capital of the EU, okay? In their capitals, there's only 10% of the people who are native. They've been pushed to the countryside. They've been pushed out of their major cities, right? And they are now every single day suffering sexual abuse, higher than they've ever seen, and especially against children. And again, like our own country, when these migrant people are charged with the crime, they are given suspended sentences. These acts are being somewhat decriminalized. While if a native does the same thing, locked up for life. You know, when we see acid attacks or someone pouring feces over someone on a train in Belgium, and it gets slapped on the wrist, but if that was a white Belgian doing that, you know it'd be all over the news. White Belgium throws piss and poo all over a black person. It'd be all over the news. It's this weird hypocrisy of a double standard. And when we see Labour's integration bill, or whatever you want to call it, be coming in, it arguably says to me that you're forcing new natives to integrate with the foreign people. Not the other way around. No, 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 no. And in that same bloody dossier, or whatever you want to call it, it tells us that the British flag, the St. George's Cross, is far right. But you allow us to have Palestinian flags, Iranian flags, and the LGBT flag on the street every damn day, which is an invasional force. If you colonize a country, do you know what you do? You stake your flag in the land. You enforce your religion on the land, even though we didn't do that all the time ourselves historically. But again, it takes a colonist to know one, right? I've read our history, and it's really, 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 really damning, right? It's this illegal boat crossing is insane. And again, as I've highlighted before, it's not just the boats, okay? The back of lorries is far worse. Arguably, the figures are double. And when I'm talking about in the previous video that we've had insane migrations to the country, and we've got an additional 7 to 8 million people, well, that's actually an estimate, by the way, because the Home Office doesn't track it properly. Figure that out. And it's estimated that we have between, well, Labour says, 1.5 million illegal immigrants in the country. Well, we know that's always going to be higher, so I'm going to say 2.5. So you've got 2.5 million people potentially in the country, illegally, getting paid to live here, to basically attack the natives. Like, I haven't seen this, right? Like, literally, in my time, I've never seen this. But I have seen historically with the Vikings and the Barbary slavers on the ships, right? Coming to the Isle, pillaging the coastal towns, taking everything they can, and getting away with it. Well, not getting away with it, but, you know, escaping with the spoils of war. And when I also see that there are literal advertisements on TikTok to these migrants on these boats on how to come across, where to get in contact, and that you can come here and get your white meat. They literally advertise women, British women, white native women, on these apps as spoils of war. And then you have, I'm going to swear here, dickheads like Bonnie Blue, who is then, you know, embellish this and exaggerate this even more. And what I find funny, and this is somewhat a conspiracy, but every time someone mentions grooming gangs or massive rape or violence. Guess who turns up? Bonnie Blue's crazy story to hoodwink to the populace to not think about it and normalize it. When you see her book online, and you should really look at who's left for reviews on this, like Kemi Bainuk, saying it's the most empowering liberal thing to women. No, it's fucking not. Okay, sorry to swear, but it's not. It's frustrating. And this is what terrifies me. We've now got this new anti-Islamic definition coming in from Labour. And all it seems to do to me is oppress the native population with religion, with a foreign religion. Yes, people, Islam is a foreign religion from our land, and it's being pushed upon us. You want to come here as a Muslim and self-practice, that's fine, but you don't need to pray on the effing streets when you've got millions of mosques in this country. All our churches have been burnt down. Your mosques, the mosques are getting extra finance every single week, even though they're never being attacked, even though they talk about violence against Muslims. It does exist, but it's not what you think it is, you know. So now we're going to put this new definition in, which stops us talking about anything was perceived as a Muslim or Muslimness, right? Which is ridiculous. So when we look at history in the UK, we know that, like, on the MI5 watch list, I think 75% of the cases are Muslim. Okay? Oh, little cat's trying to get out. And 1 in 100 is on the MI5 watch list. That's an estimation of 43,000 people. But yet, mainstream media and the government, let me get counted, are trying to say to us that all the terrorism right now is on the far right. The far right barely exists in our country. The far left is the most violent thing I've ever seen, backed by Islamists, extremists, right? And when I say these things, it doesn't count all Muslims. It's an extreme arm that seems to have more power and seems to be more power than ever. So, you know, when we look at all the terrorist attacks, we've got what? It's overwhelmingly representative, right? You've got the 7/7 bombings, you've got I think it's 2/17 attempted bombings. I've got some of this here. Murder and beheading of Lee Rigby, the Manchester Arena bombings, the London Bridge attack, the Mossel Green stabbings or stabbings even, the second London Bridge attack, the Streatham stabbings, the Manchester synagogue, blah, blah, blah. It keeps going on daily. And we see instances where a gentleman stabs those people on the train saying Alex Akbar, or goes to stab the dog water saying the same thing. But don't worry, they're not terrorist acts. Well, they are. They are. But you don't want to say that because you're trying to gaslight us that it's just normal. And also, when we get reports, they're just as British and English as the rest of us. No. This is a crop of crap. And also, when you put the Islamic bill in, so I can't talk about those terrorist acts anymore, apparently, according to that. I won't be able to talk about the grooming gangs, even if it's overwhelmingly Pakistani Muslim men to be found in those grooming gangs. And the fact is, we've imported FMG, acid attacks, forced marriage, child marriage, encouraged marriage, but we can't talk about that now. What is that about? And you want to talk about sectarianism, right? And block voting, because again, we've got block voting now, we've got electoral fraud, which is very synonymous with the Middle East, by the way. But we're told to accept that, or we are racist, or we are bigots, or we are horrible. Let's be bloody real here. This is, again, Sir Rich Ratcliffe, he turned around and said we've been colonised. And a lot of people gave him crap. This is a sheer definition of it. A group of people in large amounts have pushed us all out of the cities. We don't feel safe there. We feel like no zones that go zones. As I've said before, there are no whites written on the walls, right? And that a whole different language spoke there. The call of prayer is out there, and they are protected more than anybody else in the country. Protected more than the natives of the land. And I'm sorry, the natives should be the most protected against anybody coming to this country, you know, who can gain equal rights to citizenship, yes, but the natives should be priority. And then you've got DEI, which is putting the natives right down here at the bottom of the list. And that's why we see now in everything, there's predominantly women and people of colour. And now we have, you know, who was it came out the other day saying that there should be less white CEOs. Imagine if you said that, well, it should be less black, right? Again, when we say the countryside is too white, because all the people in the cities have ran away from the native cities to the countryside, to the Shire, and now you're like, gotta get them next. This is ethnocide, yeah? It leads, as I said before, to potentially genocide. And genocide isn't just murdering people, it's displacing people from their homeland. We have nowhere else to go, guys. They have 50 countries to go to. And it's just really getting me down. I mean, I seriously getting really depressed about this. Oh, here we go. This was yesterday. Obviously, you can see I'm watching a video, so we'll put Carl's face up there for a second. Boy raped in toilets at a UK train station as man 50 arrested. What? You know? Um, I, 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 yeah, it's just absolutely crazy. And that is excused. And again, we've got this turning up now. Children drawings could be blasphemous under Islamic law, schools warned. Labour Council's guidance says that some art may be considered idolatrous, I can't even say that word, and music and dance may conflict with religious sensitivities. Okay, in Afghanistan right now, the Islamic government that's in charge, or group that's in charge, has banned women from singing. They've now given them a cyclops gown, so they can only see out one eye. This is not Britain. This is not Britain at all. And again, you're now going to be arresting children for something that can be misconstrued, which, again, this is the problem, right? It's so loose that it's just of someone's expression and feelings. It doesn't have to be off fact or logic. And that is terrifying. Like, do I want to send my kids to school when they're getting stabbed now? Right? When one school had visitors the other week who were Jewish kids, and they're sitting there during a football match saying anti-Semitic slurs at them. But yeah, these are the same people calling us Nazis and fascists. Yeah, they're copying the exact fascist playbook, protecting all these migrants, supported by all the illegals and legal migrants of Pacific faith. But we're the racists and the horrible ones. And I'm sorry, the blatant evidence here shows that the racism, systemic racism, is against the natives of this country. You know what I mean? Like, let's just highlight this well. What people don't realize is what's going on abroad in countries. So I know in Nigeria they have banned all white people from beauty contests. And then we have this. White babies on pitchforks, signs reading, "Kill the whites," seen at protests in South Africa. This has been encouraged by the government, and it is, because I've watched several videos of them chanting, "Kill the Boer, kill the white." But no one seems to care, right? Yeah? No feminist seems to be stepping up now for, like, women and children being butchered there or in our country. Yeah, no, it doesn't exist, does it? Right? And then what else goes on in our country? We're suddenly getting rid of jury duty. We're changing the House of Laws. And you want to go freaking out about reform, trying to change, what do you call it, the Freedom of Expression Bill or whatever it's called. That's insane. Like, you know, this is so corrupt. It's so anti-British. It needs to stop, right? And then again, when we look at arrest rates in the country, this is on the New Culture Forum. Absolutely great, guys. You should follow these. Look at this. So, yeah, highest rates of arrest nationality, arrests per 1,000 of the population. Albania, Afghanistan, Iraq, Algeria, Congo. What the hell? And even when we look in the country and you look at the top 10 groups of causing all the crimes, even these ones, most of them are Muslim countries. Out of the top 10, 8 are. And that's a pattern. And you now, under this new term, can't talk about this, under this new anti-Islamic definition, whatever, you're literally saying that we have to kowtow, bend over backwards for anybody and everybody coming to the country. We're to pay for it as well. And that's it, we're doomed. And you want us to be the minority in our country, and when we go to the countryside to live our culture and our way of life, we're told we're racist and bigots and we're to invade. Now imagine if I was, I don't know, in a black country in Africa, and I turn around one day and I was like, do you know what, it's just too goddamn black here. Do you know, I've got to whitewash the living hell out of this. I've got chippies in every corner. I've got to be in politics. Screw the black people of this country. Oh, they've run to the countryside. Go get them, guys. Could you imagine the audacity and stupidity? Like, it's just so illogical. And you cannot argue, say, almost this conspiratorial that it is great replacement theory, right? If you look at our past 3 years, we've demographically replaced by 7%. There's literally demographically replaced by 7%. Not 1%, not 2, not 3, 7% in 3 years. And I'm terrified, as I said previously, for my kids' future, right? Like, I've already had an issue where one of my children in the school was asked by a migrant child, "Are you ashamed of being half white?" What the Now, I know historically in our country we've had racial issues. I know during the 60s and 70s when the Pakistanis were first coming over, when it was a very small group, by the way, we were racist in the sense that we were naive, mainly. Obviously, some outright arseholes are racist. But we assumed that Bangladeshis and Hindus and Sikhs and Muslims are all the same. They're not, obviously. And this is the other thing as well. When you're trying to say Muslimness, you do know it's not a race. There's many races that follow Islam, as are many races that follow Christianity. And this nonsense here is just protecting that. So basically, I just have one last word on this. I'm a bit of a ramble here. It's a bit of a messy video, but I'm just really passionate and annoyed. Is I can imagine a sketch where a room gets opened up by 2 police officers. There are 5 men sexually abusing a young girl. And they just turn around and go, "Oh, it's Islam." And the cop goes, "Oh, sorry, carry on." Shuts the door. And that is basically the case. Because of this idea of DEI is our strength and diversity, and DEI being rammed down our throats, and to accept all this change and accept everything being put upon us, you're literally allowing these people to come here and think they can do whatever they want. And the worst thing is that arguably doing more crime here than their own countries. We've got more radical Islamists in this country than even in the Middle East. When you have the Arab states going, "We can't send kids to your schools, guys, because you're radicalizing," this is true. And because of all this DEI nonsense and this weird self-hatred of being white person, it's been fed into our universities. Why the hell have we got Shia groups in universities educating the youth trying to convert British people to Islam? Right? Why is it that you have young Bob, whether you like him or not, being attacked all the time for just trying to speak and ask a question? And I've watched the videos. He's not hostile. He's not an arsehole. He's just asking a basic question. And what happens? He gets beaten. And people come in to just beat him. Christian preachers on the streets being attacked all the time. You've seen that video of that lovely police officer, she was lovely, sticking her ground and saying, "No, it's freedom of speech in this country. You're allowed to do this." And they generally think it's all breaking the law because they think it's Sharia law. Because I'm not being funny, but in certain cities, a lot of our cities actually, it's Sharia law. You know, people have no-go zones. And no-go zones are not just because you're forced out of it. They feel like they can't go there. I remember a couple of years ago when people walked through London, there was people pulling up in cars saying, "This is Sharia, stop holding hands." You have no rights. Yeah? That is a colonial invader thing to do. Right? Just look at bloody history. Look at how Iran turned to crap after 1979. Look at what happened to Lebanon. Do your bloody education and research and not be fed whatever nonsense you read online. And this is the key thing about all of this. You don't have to agree with me. You can disagree with me. But like, don't sit inside your echo chamber, your small little bubble of social media, especially bloody TikTok. Go and look at the opposition. You always look at both sides. I watch bloody LBC and it's soul destroying. Oh my God, it's hard to watch. But you have to watch it to give yourself an informed opinion. Otherwise you're just touting crap. Otherwise you're just running the same thing all over again. And when we all this in mind, like, again, myself, I've had 3 instances with illegal migrants. I've had one take pictures of my kids. I've had one try to stab me outside the shop. And I also witnessed one saying, "Kill all whites." Each one of them was a native to this country. Each one of them was a legal migrant staying in a hotel. And that's in the world. Okay? And we've got massive issues in the world. We're complaining now in the Birkenhead Town Centre because you've restored the Birkenhead Town Centre. Go there now. It's demographically completely different in less than a year. And they're planning to open up 4 HMOs, 2 of them in Hamilton Square, which is upsetting because Hamilton Square is a heritage site with war memorials. And if I see them defaced, I am going to assume he did it, and probably was them with the far left idiots, Green Party members or something. My point being is, all forms of immigration are completely out of control. We're having everything forced upon us. We're being made into fiscal slaves. We're not allowed to have freedom of speech. And this religion, and even the extremists of this religion, have now got protection from our government. When you have Keir Starmer standing there in front of an iftar in Westminster, which makes no fucking sense, telling the people there who are Muslim, they are the face of the future of Britain. No, 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 no. And then he gets caressed and stroked like a little creature by whoever that gentleman was who would come up to him and was like, "Oh, Keir Starmer, you're so sexy. Thank you for saying this horrible." No, don't give a crap, right? And then you have Shabina Mahmood, telling us that she's English as me. I'm sorry, you may have been born here, but you're Pakistani. There's nothing wrong with that either. But stop deleting my history and my culture, because I will not deem to do that in your nation, right? We learn from our past. We don't want to do that. And you've got to ask yourself as well, why was the British Empire created? Why did the Napoleonic Wars happen? Why did the Crusades happen? Because we were poked, prodded, suppressed, invaded and attacked. And we are very slow to react. But when we react, the English, the Scottish, Irish and Welsh are one of the most dominating, terrifying forces to be beholden in the world. Don't push us that far. Just leave. Yeah? And again, what I'm also noticing, Christian kids being taken to mosques, but never all the way around. Right? What's all that about? Like, this is surely out of control. This would be arguably a Islamic takeover. This is arguably Iran 2.0. And if we don't change things in the next 3 years, we're cooked. So there you go. The second video on migration with me just basically ranting at you. But yeah, I hope we change it and turn around. Realize that we do have the right to our ancestral home. And again, if anybody comes up to you and goes, pro-Palestine, go, why is that? Well, they are allowed to have their autonomy, the right to exist, the right to their state. And Israel shouldn't exist. Well, for one, Palestine was created in 1988, right? And Israel was created in 1949. So, bit of a weird one there. And two, if you're going to argue for the protections of those people in that region, why are you not sticking up for us? Why are you not sticking up to the natives in Europe and in the UK? You stick up for everybody around the world, even if they're terrorist organizations, even if they love killing babies and sexually assaulting women en masse. You love them and you support them, but you won't support the natives here who have done no harm. We're not ones calling crime. Quick interjection, when we're pumping money into protecting mosques and Muslims, where's the crime on Muslims? Please show me, because I've found hardly none. And I've studied every news article for the last year. Not just the main tabloids, because we know it's bullshit, but all the local newspapers, everything you can on YouTube for new media. And I'm telling you now, I barely ever see a Muslim attacked. But what I do see is hundreds and hundreds of native Europeans being slaughtered and sexually abused, and the perpetrators being given a slap on the wrist because they come from a boohoo background or it's normal in a society. I don't give a crap if it's normal in society. It shouldn't be normalised here, and we should be prioritised protecting our women and children, because they're the bloody future of your nation. And one last little jibe. Where are the feminists? Okay, where are you guys? Where are you sticking up for the Iranian women? Where are you sticking up for the women of the UK? The hundreds, thousands of white British girls who were sexually abused? Where are you? Nowhere. This is the problem. I can't say it's a left issue. I say it's a far left issue. The far left are the violent, fascist, anti-everything. You have a different opinion. You're enacting the fashion. But what they don't realise is they're very much the embodiment of fascism themselves. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that rant and have a great day. Oh.